Alright, welcome back to the NSESA Starcraft State Championships here. We're in the finals match, N3RDJustin versus NotNamedUser, both of them coming from David City. In fact, all of the Division 3 State Starcraft players were from David City.
You're from David City.
I am from David City. Anyway, so they're once again both playing the Terran race. 3 out of the 4 of the David City players preferred to play Terran. I wonder if they decided to like share strats or something like that. That'd be kind of fun. Not a whole lot going on in the first minute still. Both of them doing a similar walling strategy. Most Terran players will wall up on their natural base here because these supply depots, they start as a building and then you can sink them down into the ground level to have your units walk over them. So they're really easy to make little walls off of your ramps into your base here to be a little more defensive. NotNamedUser actually forgets the wall, doesn't forget it, goes past and builds it here instead. He's looking to wall off his natural expansion here, looking to wall off this ramp here. He knows that he's safe for the first 4 minutes of the game, so he walls off here because he knows he can get that wall off in time before the 4-minute rule happens. This is a creative approach because it allows him a little more freedom in his base and gets his production a little further up, and his natural is actually safer this way. Now because he can defend here instead of having to build supply depots and maybe getting broken a little easier. We see Justin going with the classic here with the barracks on the main ramp instead of down here. Both of them doing the same build here so far. As the barracks comes out, you'll see this worker goes to build a command center for both people. Very even so far. This barracks popping out with a reactor. The reactor goes onto a barracks or a factory or a starport. Those are the main production buildings for Terran. What a reactor does is allow you to create 2 units at once and have them both queuing up at the same time here. NotNamedUser here choosing to leave the reactor off, save a bit of gas mining here. Maybe he's going heavy into tanks and starport units, so he's going to save some gas by not going on this reactor here, so he can get his tech a little faster. I think that's what he's going to go for here. Getting his second base up here, building another supply depot here. He's got to be sure to not get supply blocked here. So currently he's at 23 out of 23 units, so he cannot make another unit until the supply depot gets finished here. He's got 2 units queued up before that supply block, so they'll make it out. But if this depot didn't go down, he'd be stuck and he couldn't make any more until he got another finished. The command center also provides some supply, so he'll be safe from being supply blocked for a little bit here. Justin also finishing up his second base soon. He has a factory pretty early on. It just comes out right after his barracks, so he'll be looking to get. I think he'll be looking to put a reactor down, and then he'll build a starport and then switch the reactor onto the starport. Looks like he's going for a tech lab instead, so he'll just be building tanks out of this here factory. NotNamedUser building another barracks instead of a second factory early on, so he also got this reactor on the barracks, so he will be massing a lot of Marines here. He might be looking for more of a long game here compared to NotNamedUser, who is probably going to play the same build as he did in his semifinals game against Little Tebby, where he pushed in with some Marines and some tanks at around, I want to say it was a 7-minute mark or so, but he kept getting interrupted by Tebby's pushes. So we'll see if he can get it off a little cleaner this time. He's building more supply depots, just getting his base up and running. He's building a starport here, and he's popping down a reactor probably. Yes, he's building a reactor. This way you can make 2 medivacs at the same time for the starport. And medivacs are an important unit. They can pick up units like we saw in the last game, and they can also heal biological units. So Marines, they don't have a lot of health. You can say they only have 45 health. That's only enough for a few shots before they go down. But with the medivac healing them, they can stay up a lot longer, and this will get used along with their stim pack ability. Marines, they doesn't look like I have it right now, but they have an upgradable ability called Stim Pack. You press it on all of your biological units, and it injects them and makes them shoot and move faster, so they do a whole lot more damage and a whole lot more aggressive. But it costs 10 of their health, so that's about like 20% of their health, depending on what upgrades they have. So the medivac, having a lot of medivacs allows you to use stim almost freely. You can stim up your Marines and they get that combat boost, but the medivacs will heal them right back up. Looks like NotNamedUser was going to go for a drop. Then he changed his mind at the last minute, it seems. I wonder what he saw to make him do that. Or maybe he's just waiting for this next medevac and it's going to go in again. We'll see what happens there. Not a whole lot coming out of the starport currently. Oh, looks like he's building Vikings again. He's expecting some medevac and maybe some Liberator play from his opponent here. He knows from earlier in the season that his opponent likes using a unit called the Liberator. The Liberator is another air-to-air unit. It's a little weaker than the Viking, but it can also siege up, sit in one place, and shoot really heavy rounds at ground units. It's super effective for clearing tanks, and I do believe that's what we're going to see NotNamedUser use against N3RDJustin's tanks, if he can crank them out in time. Looks like Justin's going to go for another drop. He likes these drops. NotNamedUser doesn't look like he's going to try and defend it with missile turrets. And all his Marines are often medevacs. We'll see if he can get it back in time. Will he pull the workers? A lot of times, Starcraft players, when getting harassed in the mineral line, they can select all of their workers and just walk them away. And to try and get them to safety while the army regroups. Looks like he didn't do that here. He's still got half of his workers. Looks like Justin took out about 8 workers. Maybe another one building a supply depot here. That's some good harass from NotNamedUser. He's in a good seat to play a long game here. He doesn't have to rush out because that economy damage will hurt in the long run. If he fights right now, they are pretty even here. Defense always having the advantage with Terran because your tanks are already sieged and ready to defend, and these ones aren't. They have to move into a position, which is really difficult under siege tank fire. These two siege tanks, if they're ready and on defense mode, they can clear out all these Marines in a handful of shots. So it's really hard to walk up a ramp with siege tanks defending it. Looks like NotNamedUser goes out to see what he's got going on in his front line here. Gets rudely awakened by some tank fire. He's a bit locked in his base right now. We'll see what he can do to defend it. He has 2 options here, actually. He can build up, get a little nest egg here, just have his tanks ready here, get these Liberators sieged up. This is the unit I was talking about. It looks like Justin was prepared for the Liberator usage, but these can clean up tanks real easy. It takes 3 shots from one of these sieged up Liberators here. It takes 3 shots from one of these to wipe out a siege tank. So that's going to be really good in the defense here, if he can get it off, if he can get these Liberators in a good position. He can try pulling them onto a flank here, but he's going to have to be really careful of this Viking, and really careful of these Marines just swamping. I believe a good strategy over here would have these siege tanks up a bit forward, and then move the Liberator around here. So when these Marines try to go harass the Liberator, the siege tanks will just light up the attacking Marines, giving them a good trade. NotNamedUser not doing a whole lot on the defense here. It looks like he's waiting for a few more units to pop out. He's getting a medevac, just a little more healing for his group. Looks like he's going to try and move out with the Liberator, but the Viking does have him locked down. 2 Liberators should be able to win a fight against 1 Viking. The 1v1 is favored in the Viking, but numbers usually wins in these engagements. But he does have a lot of Marines backing up. Now 3 Vikings. So not a whole lot these Liberators can do that. It's strictly defensive here. Justin's going to have a hard time walking through this line, even if he takes out these buildings. Oh, as you can see the siege line here for the Liberator here. He got a perfect siege on 2 of these tanks. NotNamedUser going to take out 2 tanks for completely free if he can manage to get this tank selected here. Looks like he did get that takedown. Now Justin only has 4 tanks, 3 of which are sieged. 1 tank goes down. NotNamedUser not pulling the tanks up. A lot of times you want to leapfrog these tanks up when you know that your opponent is being forced to push back. You can see this little ring of influence where the siege tank can move in. Justin does the move that we saw in his last games here, where he drops Marines directly on the siege tank so the tank can't defend itself and has to rely on its allies here. Allies do not put down enough damage to protect the siege tanks. And NotNamedUser drops out of the game. Justin takes the first match. It was pretty close. It just came down to a little bit of individual unit control, and we'll go into game 2 here.
are starting game 2.
Feel free to send invites.
Okay. If you're good, I'm good.
All right, we're going into game 2 of the state championship game against NotNamedUser and N3RDJustin. N3RDJustin took the game on the first one. We'll see if NotNamedUser is going to be able to up his defenses a little bit, get a little bit more unit control on the field now that he's warmed up, and we'll see if he can hold against N3RDJustin here. They were really close in the last game. We'll see if NotNamedUser can pull it through here.
Good.
Let's see here. NotNamedUser looks like he's going with the same opening. Nothing really interesting about this supply depot. N3RDJustin looks like he's going to build his barracks on that ramp again. I wonder if NotNamedUser is going to go ahead and build his barracks down here like he has been.
How about now? You ready?
Hold on a second, I gotta restart my playlist.
Building the barracks down here, while it does establish your wall, it slows the barracks timing down by a handful of seconds, which the barracks leads to building other things.
Yep, roll it.
I don't know about to do about what. That's interesting. Anyway, so building the barracks down here does slow down a little bit of tech. Because it takes a little bit of walking time for the SCV to get down here. And it is a few seconds difference, but it doesn't seem to be that big of a deal here.
Here we go. And starting on Ancient Sister.
I don't know what happened here. Looks like Justin's worker spontaneously combusted or something. His barracks stopped building. I wonder what happened there.
Again, both of these players for first and second.
That is going to delay his build by quite a bit. This might actually be enough for Stanley to win. You will see that Stanley has his barracks out, and this barracks is just about halfway done. You'll see that it's got about 20% left. A barracks takes, I believe, 30 seconds to build. So Stanley is currently, counting the time that it took the SCV to walk here, Stanley is still a few seconds ahead of his opponent. And a few seconds could be all it takes for a Starcraft game to be tilted one way or the other. This causes... Looks like N3RDJustin's command center still goes out earlier. He wasn't that phased by the barracks being a little bit disrupted. I don't really know what happened on this side of the map here. NotNamedUser getting some Marines out, just like we saw last game. He's probably going to pop this Marine out, maybe another one, and then get to work on a reactor. We see the reactor first come out of this barracks here. It allows him to pump out some Marines faster than building 2 and then the reactor here. Not a huge difference when the game is bottlenecked by that 4-minute rule.
Get rid of that.
I don't know. Oh, there we go. All right. Just had to get that chat out of the way. I wasn't sure how. I'm an excellent caster. Anyway, N3RDJustin building a barracks and a factory. He's going to get that tech lab on this factory to build out some tanks, I believe. Unless he's switching it up again. That'd be kind of funny. But no, he is building that tech lab here. Getting reactoring out Marines, just pumping out probably a tech lab on this one. Tech lab can be used to research that stim upgrade we talked about in the last game. It increases the lethality of your bio units by a ton. Tech lab can also upgrade, research a combat shield upgrade, which gives these Marines a little shield on their player model, and it adds 10 health to their life total here. And 10 health is also what's taken away by stim pack. So a Marine with combat shield basically just gets a free stim off before they're disadvantaged. Note that a Marine with combat shield actually wins a straight 1v1 to a Marine with stim, but this encounter is hardly matters here because both armies will be backed up by siege tanks. But stim is usually the one you want to research first. A lot of players will get 2 tech labs to get both really quickly if they're going to go hard into Marines. Looks like neither of these players are interested in doing that. They're more focused on tanks and medevacs. Both of them have a very similar unit composition. NotNamedUser is his strategy is a little bit stronger on defense, but just not quite strong enough. Justin crosses the map as soon as he is possible, looking to get some early harassment. Looks like 6 Marines and a Marauder. Marauders shoot little rockets. They do extra damage against units with the armor tag. This is stuff like other Marauders or siege tanks. NotNamedUser doesn't have any siege tanks on the field, but the Marauders do have a lot of health, and they have base armor, which makes each Marine do a little bit less punch to them. We'll see if this harass, we'll see if he walks it in right away or lets it go for a moment. If he walks it in right now, he could clear up these Marines and maybe just cheese this first base down. We'll see. Oh, he has a tank here already too. He might be looking for just a really aggressive, really early attack. He's just macroing behind it. He's getting a command center here. Command centers are these buildings that mine here. The Terran command centers are their main base. He can pick it up and fly it to the mineral line to get it sit up. Here we have an attack going. He's just harassing this early barracks. This is part of the reason why you don't want a barracks here, because he can walk up and get some really good harassment, because he just shuts down your ability to produce units for a little bit. We do have another barracks back here with the tech lab, but he shuts down 2/3 of his NotNamedUser bio production by taking this free barracks here. That's the risk of having the barracks out front compared to in the wall like most Terran players do. It has its benefits, but it doesn't seem to pan out in NotNamedUser's favor. This is a really aggressive, really early attack. It looks like Justin Kill is up 16 workers here, and establishing a foothold in NotNamedUser's secondary base. With the siege tanks sieged up here and some units occupying this space, NotNamedUser can't actually build a command center and drop it here or anything if he's going to stay here. He needs to clear out these units first, using his weaker economy that got threatened by this early pressure here. NTRJustin put himself in a really good position here. He's getting his second base up and running. Finished his command center here. He's gonna pick that up and fly it over to his other mineral line here, so hopefully get 2 bases up on NotNamedUser. Terran players do have the ability to turtle up, as it's called, and just not move out while they build up their defenses. And looks like was he getting an engineering bay here? He does have 2 engineering bays. They're not both active, but he's gonna try and pump out as many upgrades as he can and try to win this uphill battle to at least clear the foothold in his base and maybe get some more mining going. Because for every minute that he is stuck up here is another 1,000 minerals that NTRJustin is ahead. NTRJustin, he's getting oversaturated in his second base here. You can see that a base can be optimally mined with 16 workers, not 18. It counts these mineral patches over here, but that's not really what he's mining here. So up to 16 workers can mine these minerals in a base. He's getting extra so that when he picks this base up and flies it over here, as you can see, he can just easily transfer some of the workers out of here and some of the workers out of here once he's all mined out. NTRJustin getting his upgrades going. Looks like they both have +1 weapon damage research, so their upgrades are even. I think what +1 armor is going to finish about the same time. NotNamedUser is going to have a slight advantage on armor upgrades. It looks like he won't be able to do anything with that, really. A popular strategy is to get your first 2 upgrades out really quickly and attack right when you get them, so you have the best chance of your opponent not being up in upgrades. If you can take a fight where you have 1 or even 2 more upgrades than your opponent, almost every trade you try and take will be in your favor. He's sieging up this Liberator here to try and stop his opponent from coming up into his base. This would be effective if he was going a purely siege tank route, but with all these Marines here, it looks like they'll be able to clear this Liberator with little issue. He does have a siege tank here. Is he going to get sieged up in time? He does not get it sieged up in time. If he had it prepared maybe a couple seconds earlier, he could have wiped out a considerable portion of these Marines here. You can see NTRJustin does have combat shield upgraded. He got those little riot shields on, and he also has stim. So his Marines are going to be very effective on the field. He's getting +2 weapons researched as well. So his Marines are going to punch through just about anything NotNamedUser can throw at him. And NotNamedUser is not researching upgrades at the moment. You can see he's a little bit strained on mining Vespine gas here. That's what you want to use for upgrades here. As he only has 2 bases, he can only mine so much at a time. So that's what's really bottlenecking him here. Looks like he tried to float a sneaky base into it where his 3rd expansion would go. Justin does not know it's here yet. He's getting some free mining here. We'll see how long it takes to be spotted. NTRJustin walks almost all of his biological army in here, taking a really questionable trade here. Looks like he didn't even lose any health on his siege tank. This is a really good fight for NotNamedUser. But now that Justin is playing outside of the siege tank's range, there's not a whole lot he can do here. He's trying to walk all his Marines into the siege line, see if he can break it, and he can't. He does only a little bit of damage to 1 tank. NTRJustin cleans it up. His Marines have a lot of damage on them, but these medevacs will catch him right up if they stop moving for a little bit. He moves into the main base. He does a free siege tanks, shelling Justin's army here. Almost all of his biological units go down. You can see that these Vikings here, they can land and attack on the ground, and that's the state championship for NRDJustin.